I think it's time that we talk about what I'm dubbing the authoritarian left. And the reason I feel like it's important for us to finally talk about this group of people is that it will help us understand the rise of far-right ideology. I think a lot of people keep zooming in and trying to understand what it is about this rise of far-right extremism, not just in the United States, but around the world. But I think it's important that we zoom out and we see the full picture. And that full picture, in my opinion, includes what I'm dubbing the authoritarian left. And in fact, if you step outside of internet spaces for 2 seconds, you'll realize that most people fall under a category called the middle ground majority. But the second you enter internet spaces, it seems like you're either far right or authoritarian left. I'll first start with a psychological definition of the authoritarian left because I feel like that is the best way to explain the underpinnings and the motivations of this group, because I think it's important to separate the motivations of the authoritarian left and the general left. Like, I'm a liberal, I'm a leftist, but I don't identify as an authoritarian left. The first part is identity substitution. When people lack tangible power or political wins, moral superiority becomes a substitute for identity. So it's not about necessarily being a part of a group that wants to change things for the better. It's about power and control. The second is the fear of exclusion. People mimic outrage because belonging, especially online, is precarious. You either join the pylon or risk becoming the next target. Once again, it's about control. The third is cognitive closure. When certainty feels safer than nuance, the far left policing subculture offers clear heroes and villains, which relieves moral anxiety. Once again, about power and control. And I think this quote best exemplifies everything. When activism becomes about moral theater, it stops being about liberation and starts being about reputation. It is not about actually being a good person. It's about people thinking that you're a good person. There's a huge difference. How does this have to do with the rise of far-right ideology? Well, in my opinion, this is what the right is talking about when they mean woke. But unfortunately, they've lumped in groups of people that genuinely care about making the world a better place, genuinely care about being good, and this morality police / authoritarian left. Because most people fall under this middle ground majority that does not need you to have a PhD in human rights to believe that you care about people. They do not expect perfection. They understand that people are flawed and nuanced, and they change and they grow and they leave room for that. But it seems like in internet spaces and online spaces, for the longest time, the dominant narrative was that you are either perfect or you are gone forever. And that does not leave room for conversation. And that, in my opinion, is how we get the rise of the far right. Because this is the cycle. The left overly moralizes. The right weaponizes that backlash. Then the left doubles down, and then polarization deepens. There's no winning here. What then happens is what is happening right now, which is people just become more and more extreme, at least online. And I feel like it's starting to trickle into real life, even though I still believe most people are very much so in the middle of like, are you trying to be a good person? Do you try your best every day? You're a human being, I'm a human being. That's fine. But if you're just online, you think that it's either perfection or not. And it's hypocritical because nobody's perfect. Let he who has never sinned cast the first stone. But if you ask the authoritarian left, they are perfect. And then it becomes a performance. It's not about doing good. It's not about being good. It's about virtue signaling and making it seem like you're a good person. And then we're shocked now when, with the rise of far-right ideology and extremism, the people that were so loud and so performative seem to have no backbone. It's because they were always grifters. When you have an ideology where the dominant culture is this morality police that is drowning out the majority still, that I believe are just people, they're just trying their best every day, that try to be good people but maybe don't know feminist theory, okay? So maybe they say the wrong things, and that's human, that happens. But then what happens is, one, you alienate this middle ground, and they then choose, well, I'd rather be part of the group that's not judging me for all of my life choices. And they start to see the left for the hypocrisy that it is, and they lump the entire left as part of this morality authoritarian police when they are, in my opinion, a very loud minority. a very loud and insecure and domineering minority. And so it reveals then that it's all a farce and it's performative, and then you get hijacked by grifters. I mean, it's happening on both sides, but it's also happening on the left. And I don't think we're talking about it enough, because it feels like the moment you say something that is criticizing the left and criticizing the fact that it's not perfect, the authoritarian, left just eats you up and cancels you out of existence. We're lacking nuance in a world that is life is nuance. Life is the gray area between black and white, but we keep acting like life is either black and white, and online spaces makes you feel that way. It's crazy. We need to talk about the authoritarian left in order to talk about far-right ideology and extremism. And if we don't talk about the authoritarian left, we're missing the big picture.